Alright guys, this is about the 11th time I've tried to shoot this video, so let's hope that it works. There's been a few problems. We've got massive storms here in Thailand at the moment, and I don't know if you can hear, there's a bit of noise against the windows here, but you know, it is what it is. I'll do my best. It's not the most luxurious location, but anyway. So interesting comment in regards to the video I did yesterday in regards to the assassination of Shinzo Abe. When I shot that video, he hadn't died yet. But as I said in that video, if you know Bretnik or buckshot, depending on where you live in the world, you know it is a brutal, brutal bullet. And it literally rips holes in flesh. It is a gruesome tool. So kind of, you know, expected what happened there. So very, very sad news. If what I said is true, and I suspect that it may be, there are some very cryptic comments coming out in the media at the moment saying that this particular gentleman who shot Shinzo Abe thought that he was part of a group, and they're saying, oh, maybe it's a a religious group. I very much doubt that. I think what these people are fighting against are some of the descendants of the political and military leaders who were involved in the invasion of Manchuria about 90 years ago. And I think that's what you're basically seeing, because a lot of these people who are in political power in Japan and in corporate power were involved in that. And I can tell you that the Koreans absolutely hate the Japanese for what they did to them. And you know, I've heard some gruesome, gruesome stories in regards to the treatment by the Japanese. So terrible stuff. But anyway, look, if that's the case, and it is some ultra-nationalistic front who have attacked and killed Shinzo Abe, there's some real ramifications coming. That's not good. So anyway, moving right along, did see today something that I thought was noteworthy, and it's more of the same BS that the mainstream media and the political and media elite have been pushing for the last couple of months in regards to inflation and its causes. I did see an article with Philip Lowe, the Governor of the Reserve Bank of Australia, saying that it is consumers who are responsible for inflation and that they need to cut back on their spending and consumption. Otherwise, he's going to have to increase interest rates. This is absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. As I said to you in the past, the only reason, the sole reason, and you can go and look at Milton Friedman and see that the sole reason for inflation is too much printing from the Reserve Bank. Too much fiscal augmentation, which means too much money being added to the system. That's the only reason. So they added a whole heap of cash during the lockdowns, and we didn't see a whole heap of inflation at that time. But the reason why we're seeing inflation now is because of the velocity of the M1 money supply. And what I mean by that is the amount of transactions that are taking place now that people are no longer locked down. They're able to get out and buy things, purchase things, and consume things. So you're seeing greater amounts of transactions. That creates inflationary force when you have added too much money to the system. That is the reason. It's not consumption. It's not supply chain shortages. They may have very, very minimal impact, if any impact at all. So Even, was it Joe Biden the other day tweeted that it was petrol station owners who were responsible for the increased cost in petrol in the US, and that they should do the right thing by consumers and lower the petrol prices, which is absolute garbage. So in response to that, Jeff Bezos called that out for being the crap that it is. And then I saw an interview with a White House press secretary, I think her name is Busay, and she was asked point blank range, like, you know, what's with this? This is not legitimate. This is not a legitimate excuse. Joe Biden can't be serious about this. What is the actual narrative here? And who is advising Joe Biden on this? And she just gave press release. There was no real substantive explanation as to why he tweeted that and what the White House's position is on that. And really what came across was that they had no position on that at all. They have no comprehension or understanding as to what's actually going on here. And that's a real issue. And even Jeff Bezos said this. He said, well, you're either not being honest or you're grossly incompetent. And I dare say that it's probably the first. Or maybe it is the latter. Maybe they just have no idea what the heck is going on. But watch this space, because this is going to cause more and more problems, not only in the US, but also in Australia and other economies. People are going to call this BS out. I mean, I did read another article from the Financial Review today, and I think the author's last name was Jaye, Joya, I think it is. And he was getting into the Reserve Bank of Australia and saying, hey, look, you know, you're increasing the interest rates by up to 50 basis points at a time. You know, how dare you? It should be cautiously increased at 25 basis points a month. And this person has absolutely no idea of how this works. Why he is writing for the Financial Review, I have no idea. But this guy's a complete idiot. And it just sounds like that he is, he's under financial mortgage stress himself, and he wants to have a bit of a, you know, complain and a bit of a cry. The problem is that these people don't understand why the interest rates are the way that they are and where they're going. And I can tell you, the official inflation rate in Australia is around 6.95%, which is ridiculously high. I have seen unofficial estimates at over 11%. And when you consider that the target for the Reserve Bank of Australia and in classical economics as a whole is going to be 2% above the inflation rate, you're looking at interest rates of around 8.95% or 13%. Somewhere in that range. That's where it's going. And I feel sorry for these people that have mortgages. But at the end of the day, that's, you know, if you're in a position where you're already under mortgage stress, you need to liquidate now and get out while the going's good, because at the end of the day, it's going to get a lot worse. This is not going to get better. And I'm not offering financial advice. If you want financial advice, go and speak to a financial specialist. But I'm just telling you, that's the way that I was trained to look at things. That's classical economics, classic finance. And at the end of the day, that's what the guys who are managing vast sums of money are basically using as their guidelines. That's where they see things going, you know? So this stuff that interest rates are going to remain low indefinitely, it is just not going to happen. The other thing that I think is a key indicator to keep a note of is the fact that you did see the 10-year bond yield in the US go above 3.4, I think it was, and now it's back down to 3.8 or 3.75, sorry, 2.75. So that means that the central bank in the US and other central banks from around the world have been buying these 10-year yields. And that means they've added even more money, trillions of dollars, to the debt market, or the money market. So that is just further inflationary pressure that's going to play out later this year. Another key indicator to keep an eye on is the euro. Some estimates have that at 90 US cents, which is absolutely insane. A lot higher than what it is at the moment, and it is crashing. Reason why it's crashing is because the European Central Bank is printing more and more money to stimulate their economy, and they're in big trouble. So when all else fails, they take you to war, as Gerard Celente says. So keep an eye on that. The other thing that is of particular note to keep an eye on, the US and Russia have both put tactical nukes inside Ukrainian territory within the last couple of weeks. This thing in Europe is escalating at a rapid rate. This is not being stepped backward. There are no rational minds at play here, so be very cautious about this. The real concern that I have, and one of the reasons why I left Europe when we did, was that come winter, it's going to be very, very expensive for electricity and gas, and there are probably going to be shortages. And trust me, you do not want to be in Europe when there is an energy shortage in winter. Absolutely not. It is terrible cold. It's just a terrible experience being in that cold, cold weather. So anyway, guys, I mean, it's all good news. Look, I would love to be able to say, hey, look, everything's fine and dandy, but it's just not, and I'm not going to lie to you. Anyway, look, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the bell notification and subscribe, and I'll keep you up to date on all of the information that I get, and try and put it into perspective and try and draw the dots for you so you can sort of put it in context. And yeah, but anyway, guys, going to leave that there. But I will, before I go, just heed another word of warning that if you are in a developed economy, be very cautious at this time. Really consider your plan in regards to where things go if the economy does head south at a very rapid rate. I know here in Thailand at the moment, they're complaining about inflation and debt, and having to pay back debt in US dollars, which is exactly what I talked about weeks ago. A lot of these developing economies are struggling, and they will continue to struggle as the US dollar continues to appreciate. So keep that in mind. I did see the other day too that Vietnam forced a lot of people that are there on tourist visas to leave. They are not renewing tourist visas in Vietnam. If you are moving to a country and you are not on the right visa, then you need to get onto the right visa as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in real trouble and in a very, very tight spot, because this is going to get a lot worse. These nations do not want tourists hanging around that are kind of bumming off the system. Like even here in Thailand, they're talking about wanting to attract high net worth individuals and tourists that have got a lot of money to spend. And they're even talking about having two systems of charging, one for locals and one for foreigners. So they want to charge foreigners almost double, or if not double, what they're charging the locals here. And they already started to do that with hotel rooms and with some restaurants. They've taken the prices off the menus. So what happens is the local goes in and it's one price, And then when the foreigner goes in, there's already an extra 20, 30, 40 baht, 50 baht whacked on top of the price. So this sort of stuff is already happening here in Thailand, and I don't think we'll be hanging around here long term. I just hate the fact that even on a retirement visa or a study visa here in Thailand, every 3 months you have to report to the immigration department, line up for 2 hours and pay, you know, however much money to have your visa stamped. It's just a waste of time. There are other options like the Philippines. You can go there, cheap to live, cheap to rent properties, everyone speaks English, and you get a 12-month visa straight off the bat when you get there. So why would you come to Thailand where people don't speak English? Well, very few people do. They're wanting to charge you double what the locals are charged, and the visa situation is just, you know, it's unbearable at times. So anyway, guys, gonna leave that there. If you're after health insurance, have a look in the description below. There is Safety Wings, a link to Safety Wings, and it's great insurance. We use that. And yeah, if you're wanting to come to Thailand or go to Bali or go to the Philippines and you're looking for travel insurance, get onto Safety Wings. As I said, the link is in the description below. Yeah, get everything in order. So if you haven't signed up to the Overseas Exiles Facebook group, do that and join the discussion. And as I said, hit the like and subscribe button, and go to the Overseas Exile webpage, overseasexile.com, and read the articles there. All right, guys, gonna love you and leave you, and we'll chat with you soon. So I think we got that video shot, so only took about 11 times.